My mother put me up for adoption back in 1994 because she wanted a fresh new life in Benidorm, Spain with her then boyfriend and now husband. My grandparents filed all the necessary paperwork and adopted me. Last year, I lost both of them within 3 months of each other. My mother never attended any of the funerals. She didn't even call or send any condolences. My grandfather was the last to pass away. A week prior to his death, he told me that he and Joan, my grandmother, had signed a will making me the only beneficiary since I was their only grandchild and my mother was their only child. Exactly 2 weeks after his funeral, a solicitor invites me to his office so he can explain the process of signing the assets over to me and having me sign some paperwork whilst I was there that he said granted him permission to work on my behalf. This process went smoothly, and within 4 months, the house was mine and the balance of the bank and savings accounts were all given to me. In total, £285,000. The house I inherited is the same house I live in today. Since it's a 2-minute walk from my university, I've never really thought about selling it, and besides, I was left enough cash not to need to sell the house yet. This morning at 10 a.m., I get a visit from my mother, the first time I've ever seen her in my life. The only way I knew it was her was from the pictures I had seen on Facebook. She was with her husband and their son who was 2 years younger than me. She asked if they could come inside and have a cup of tea and talk about how we should share what was left. I think I was in a state of shock at the time. I didn't know what to do, so I lied and told them I had to go to my class, to which she replied, "Mind if we wait inside for you to come back?" I didn't feel comfortable leaving them in my house, so I told her if she had anything to say it now. She told me that her friend is an estate agent and could have the house on the market by the end of the week, to which I explained I live in the house, as my university is a short distance away, and that it was up to me if the house was to be sold, since it's my name on the deeds. This is when her husband got involved, saying that I need to show his wife some ducking respect. Otherwise, our Joshua will punch the duck out of you. Josh is their son. I wasn't prepared to put up with her threats, so I told them to get out of my house before I call the police. They began to leave, and as they were leaving, he tells me that they're in contact with an expensive solicitor and are going to take everything. After he says that, my mother says, "Wouldn't it be best for you if we just shared everything? We don't have to get these people involved." Where do I stand legally on this? Can they do anything at all? Don't ever let them in the house. If they show up and threaten you again, call the police. Listen, your mother did not come to your home. Your mother sadly passed away. This is some lady who may or may not have birthed you. It was so long ago, who even remembers? This lady and her strange husband, again, who knows, and some kid, are trying to get into your house. The house your mother and father gave you so you could have a better life. Get these strangers away from your property and call the police if they ever return. So, me, 26 male, and Haley, 27 female, have been together 4 years. She is a wonderful person, and overall we have a great relationship. Her family, on the other hand, does not have a good history of relationships, which in turn has made me adamant about getting a prenup. Haley has 3 sisters and her mom. Between them, they have had 7 failed marriages, 2 for mom, 2 for 2 of the sisters, and 1 for the other. The sisters aren't particularly the best people in the world, in my opinion, but they aren't that awful or anything. Haley is the youngest and really gets annoyed with all their drama. Me and Haley have been preparing for the next stage of our relationship. I have the ring already, but I've made it clear I'm not getting married till she signs a prenup. I make good money, and Haley is a school teacher, which I love for her, but I'd also be the one taking the larger financial risk. So we've been doing counseling for this issue, as Haley is refusing to sign one. I'm refusing to get married without one. We've definitely reached a stalemate, which is frustrating because we do want to start a family. My point is that we can start a family now. We don't need to be married to do that. So I've started getting pressure from Haley's side about when I'm proposing, because we've been dating forever. My response has always been, unlike some people, I like to make sure my commitment will last, so I like to be certain. Which isn't always received well, but they are the ones being nosy. So now to the incident. Yesterday we went over to Haley's mom's house for a cookout. It was just the sisters and their kids, boyfriends. I was helping set some things up in the kitchen when 2 of the 3 sisters and her mom called me over to the table. They asked me to sit down, and basically said how much they love me, but want to know what my intentions are for Haley. I said, when she signs the prenup, we will get married. It is that simple. They must have not known about the prenup because they started heckling me on it, being sarcastic and snarky about why I would ever need one. I got frustrated and pointed to them individually and counted out loud how many failed marriages they had. When I was done counting, I said, "So obviously commitment wasn't a sticking point in your household growing up. You all have a bad relationship history. Hell, y'all probably funded your divorce lawyer's retirement alone." They all got really quiet, and that is when Haley came in. She could see the tension and asked what was up. I told her exactly what happened. Her sister started being rude, so I got up and went home. Haley is mad, saying what I said was a jerk move. I said she's the one who didn't inform her family of the situation, and I was tired of getting railroaded. That I said my piece, and that was the end of it. She wants me to apologize to her family, but I'm not going to, as I don't think I said anything wrong. It was all factual. Am I the a-hole? Yes, the a-hole. Not because you want a prenup, but the reason why. If you hate her family so much and think she's like her family, then why are you with her? Prenup should protect both parties, not just you. Yes, the a-hole, for all the unnecessary personal insults to Haley's family, and for your bizarre idea that you can still get started on a family when you can't even agree on prenup or not. Yes, the a-hole for your reasoning. She is not her mother or her sisters. Your reasoning is basically implying you have no hope for your future marriage. My 54 male, niece Taylor, 26 female, got married a few days ago. My daughter Vienna, 27 female, was part of the bridal party as a bridesmaid. This wedding has been over a year in planning, and Vienna of course knew of her role and everything way in advance. She's been hanging around a guy, Matthew, for a while now, but I don't think they're anything serious. Matthew had gone to a different state on a business trip and got into an accident. This all happened a couple weeks before Taylor's wedding. Vienna found out and had a nervous breakdown, saying that she needs to fly out immediately. Yes, I understand she was upset, but she wasn't thinking straight and unnecessarily worrying. I explained to her that even if she goes, she has to come back before the wedding, but it'd be better if she didn't, as there's a lot of last-minute things. She didn't listen and kept saying she's going to go and probably stay there for a while. Both me and my wife tried to explain to her to stay calm, and she can go anytime after the wedding. She called up Taylor, my brother and his wife, and told them she wouldn't be able to attend. Taylor understandably didn't take the news well, and his wife made a whole Facebook post saying some people don't want to see others happy, and isn't it nice when family quits at the last minute? She didn't mention us by name explicitly, but it's obvious what it was about. It pretty much caused nuclear warfare throughout my side of the family, but Vienna wouldn't hear it and booked a flight before the wedding. All of our flyer accounts are linked, so I canceled her flight. Vienna went insane when she found out, and we had a huge argument. And again, we told her that she really needs to understand how big of a deal this wedding is, as she's part of the bridal party, and some man doesn't overtake a family obligation. I even offered to pay extra costs so she can reschedule the flight after the wedding, but she blew up at all of us. Vienna did attend the wedding and did all her duties as bridesmaid, and thankfully didn't make a show. And all of us thanked her for understanding, but she pretty much cursed us out, even my brother and his family. Me and my wife tried calling and messaging her after the wedding, but she's not picking up or answering. I do know that she flew out the day after the wedding, so I really don't see what the issue is, but Vienna was clearly mad at us. Yes, the a-hole, and huge manipulative one at that. First, a-hole for canceling her flight that she paid for. What the duck? She's a grown woman, and you have no business doing that, and honestly, it seems illegal. If not, it's still grossly unethical. Hanging around a guy for a while now. Didn't think it's serious. It's not up to you to decide how serious her relationship with her partner is. It's obviously serious enough that she wants to immediately fly out and be with him after he had a car accident. She was upset and wasn't thinking straight, and was unnecessarily worrying. Oh, she was being emotional and needed to calm down. You also don't get to decide what her feelings should be. Bride and groomzilla are also a-holes. A wedding can be missing a bridesmaid. Her role isn't that important. She's not the maid of honor. It's not the end of the world, and it certainly wouldn't ruin bridezilla and groomzilla's big day. Putting her on blast on Facebook is disgusting. Some man doesn't overtake family responsibilities. What about when the family is a bunch of a-holes? And again, you don't get to decide what some man means to her. Honestly, I hope Vienna realizes how awful and toxic you all are. Yes, the a-hole. I'm sure you'll be back next year when she's engaged and you can't understand why you're not invited. Of course, yes, the a-hole. People get to make decisions you disagree with. How controlling do you have to be that you don't recognize canceling someone's flight as a dramatic overreach? I live in a non-English speaking country and we have our own naming practices. Back in my grandparents' time, the trend was for married women to take on their husband's name and lose theirs completely. So the wife of John Smith became John Smith wife. That was the woman's official name, stated on all her papers. She even lost her forename. People since then realized that this is disgusting, and nobody born since after 1950 has done this. My little sister, Sarah, got engaged a few weeks ago to her boyfriend, Bob Toole. They came over to us for dinner yesterday, and the topic of their upcoming wedding came up too. Bob said he cannot wait for Sarah to become Bob Toole wife. At first, I thought he didn't actually mean that my sister will be called that, but my sister said, "We haven't actually settled on my married name yet." Bob then said that there's nothing for them to think about. She will be called Bob Toole wife. I laughed at him and asked if he was joking, because he can't be serious. He said he was serious. He is a traditional man, and this is not up for debate. I find this absolutely revolting, so I told him that he can't actually expect Sarah to lose even her forename and become just an extension of him. This is ridiculous. He doubled down on his stance, and I called him a backwards egomaniac. That ended the dinner. Bob made them both leave, and today my sister called me and practically yelled at me for standing up for her. She said she has no intention of taking his full name either, but now he won't ever budge. Her plan was to slowly talk him into her only taking his surname, but I ruined her plans, and I can be sure as hell he will never want to have dinner with us ever again too. I don't know how to feel. On one hand, I feel like what I said was completely justified, but on the other hand, I probably made my sister's life harder with my big mouth and ruined our relationship with my future brother-in-law. But on the third hand, I don't think my sister should be marrying a man like that, and maybe me standing up for her will help her see that. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your sister is delusional if she thinks she would have been able to talk him into changing his mind before your comment. She needs to leave him, as he doesn't respect or value her as an individual. Not the a-hole. A good rule of thumb is to never expect anyone to do something you yourself would not be willing to do. If he isn't willing to change his name to Sarah Smith husband, he should not ask her to do the equivalent. When called out on his sexism and controlling behavior, he doubled down. He showed everyone in that situation who he really is and how little he respects your sister. He views her as a possession, not a person. People like that need to be called out, and your sister needed to hear what you said. She also needed to hear how her husband responded. It says everything about his character. It's her choice not to leave him, but if nothing else, she saw a glimpse of what the rest of her life is going to look like if she marries him. My partner, 40s male, and I, 30s female, had a baby boy a few months ago. We both dote on him. We've had several lighthearted discussions in our family about who the baby looks like, because there's no agreement and he doesn't seem to look like any of us. Anyway, somebody mentioned that he looks like me. I didn't see it, but my partner agreed and pouted as he said it, like he was disappointed, displeased. I wasn't sure if he was joking or not, so I pushed back a little on that, and he clarified that he isn't upset that the baby looks like me specifically. He just wishes his son looked like himself. I have a daughter from a previous relationship who is the spitting image of me, only she's prettier, and I love it when people say she looks like me. It feels like having a special connection. It's my favorite compliment. So I get wanting a child to look like yourself, totally. However, I love finding aspects of my partner in my baby, like how they have similar colored hair and how they frown the same way. I love it. Why wouldn't I? He's my partner and I love him, and I'm glad that he is our son's father. Having a mini version of my partner would be wonderful. The fact that he wasn't thrilled to have a mini version of me hurt. I don't feel like he hates me, just that he has zero excitement about being my partner. But here's the thing. I feel very unwanted and not valued for unrelated reasons, and I can't tell if I'm projecting my general hurt and feelings of being dismissed and unimportant onto this interaction. I don't want to get into a cycle of reaffirming my negative feelings by constantly projecting them onto new things. Do most people want their kids to look like themselves and not their partners? Where do you jump from that to he has zero excitement for me being his partner is where I get confused. Sounds like you have some other things going on. We definitely do, which is why I feared I was projecting. I'm not even sure I can explain why it hurts that he has this one little preference that doesn't even play a role in our lives. Thank you for your feedback. In one breath, you say you get it, then in another, you go back. He isn't disappointed that he looks like you. He literally said that. He's disappointed because he doesn't look like him. You said it yourself. You love that your daughter looks like you. Why wouldn't it be any different for him? The other problems are there and need to be sorted. I think this is just the camel's back. Sounds like the kid is still a baby, and the looks will change a lot over the years. His expressions and the way he carries himself may end up making him look more like your partner after all. Or he might not. Are there some obvious visual similarities? Maybe point those out to him and talk about them. Some men in the postnatal have illogical thoughts and worries about genetics. Anyway, it sounds like this is just a single issue in a whole bunch of things that are happening in your relationship, and it's time to start talking them out, preferably with a professional.